The Big Ten SEC SuperConference is here, and there's no going back. Something I heard this past week cemented my view on this. I'll tell you what that was, and I'll tell you what it means for the Big Ten moving forward. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. You know, we're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. It's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and get started. All right. SuperConference, it's happening. It's here. NCAA baseball regionals for the Big Ten teams. Not a great weekend. We will have our Big Ten top 10 observations, mostly from the NCAA baseball tournament. We'll get to that later. If you are an everydayer or at least a very regular viewer or listener to Locked On Big Ten, you know my stance on the SuperConference, right? If you're new, I'm going to tell you what I believe. I've got a little thumbnail version here, all right? I believe that an expanded version of the Big Ten will be in an alliance with an expanded version of the SEC in football. They'll do their own thing, separate from the rest of college football, separate from the rest of the conferences, separate from whatever remains of the withering NCAA. All right. So that, you know, if you want to think of it in terms of a future Big Ten and future SEC in similar terms to the AFC and NFC in the NFL, if that helps convey my thought process to you at all. And yes, that does include their own playoff system moving forward, but that's down the road just a little bit. But we're going down that road fast, very quickly. We're already seeing it happen before our very eyes. I mean, how many of you thought you'd see the demise of the Pac-12 just 2 years ago? I know you're getting used to the idea now. 2 years ago, do you think it was even a possibility? Probably not. How many of you thought that USC and UCLA would be in the Big Ten 2 years ago? Nobody. Washington, Oregon? Nobody. How many thought Texas and Oklahoma would be in the SEC? Nobody, but that's where they're playing this year. So just like the Pac-12 just basically disappeared, the ACC as we know it will be next, maybe within a year or so, maybe less. It could happen fast with this lawsuit, all these lawsuits going on. And I know that the Big 12 feels real comfortable right now, pounding their chest a little bit, like they think they're good to go. They're fine. They're going to be one of the three. They shouldn't be comfortable. They should not. They act like everything's fine and that there's room for three major conferences, but I'm here to tell you they got their head in the sand. I mean, when you watch your two most valuable products go out the door in Texas and Oklahoma and leave for the SEC, what are you doing? Let me put it into perspective for you. It just happened with USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12. They're gone. What happens to the Pac-12? Oregon and Washington, they're gone. Can you imagine if Michigan and Ohio State left the Big Ten? How would that make the Big Ten look and feel? I know they got other teams now that's so big, but I'm just a couple of years ago. What if Michigan and Ohio State said, we're leaving? What would be left of the Big Ten? So, again, we're about to see what's going on with the Big 12 and the ACC and all this change that's going on. Big 12 is going to run into the same problems right after the ACC does. Mark my words, and it's all going to happen. So when the ACC finally implodes and Florida State and Clemson go out the door, if they win their lawsuits or settle their lawsuits, we'll see who else follows them out the door. All this is happening. Same thing's happening to the Big 12. They just don't realize it yet. Now, let's add some more layers to this regarding the Big 10. Remember back in February when the Big Ten and the SEC, they announced their new partnership? The conferences tried to tap down any talk about a super conference alliance. They hate that word alliance. They don't want people like me in the media talking about alliance or anything like that. They said, look, the two conferences got a lot in common. We just need to talk more as we navigate through all the challenges of college football moving forward. just kind of bounce ideas off of each other, that kind of thing. Just real super casual, although I'm not buying any of that. While the idea was presented as vague, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey just spoke to the media last week following the conference's big SEC meetings in Destin, Florida. And he filled in some gaps with this Big Ten SEC agreement. Again, they're not calling it an alliance. I am. Sankey said that there was a big meeting last January where everybody, all the conferences, all the bigwigs got together to try and discuss how they're handling name, image, and likeness. And all these changes are just coming at them like water through a fire hose, right? All these, they handed out rules and all this stuff. All right, here's how we are going to handle all this moving forward. Any questions? Sankey looked around, looked some more, and waited. No questions. No question. Not a single hand went up in the air. We are witnessing one of the biggest, most fundamental changes in amateur college athletics in 100 years. And there's not one question with this large group. Are you kidding me? That's what Sankey says. Are you kidding me? Maybe the other schools and other conferences were just dumbfounded. Maybe they need more time to digest things. We are moving quickly. But that's when Sankey said, look, there's a time to be a statesman. There's time to be a bully. And he decided it's time to be a bully and take control of the situation. He said, look, we have big problems in college athletics. And you can't solve big problems in big rooms with big numbers of people. There's too many points of view moving forward. I've been not on the same page. What's good for the Big Ten and the SEC is not good for the MAC. It's just not. So it was then he decided, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti and suggested to him that, we need to move forward on our own, kind of do our own thing. We need to talk more. We need to be on the same page because the Big Ten and the SEC, they're kind of in the same boat. They have a lot in common, both financially, athletically, and pretty much said we can't be letting these other people and their indecision or their other decisions affect us. We're the cash cow here. We're rolling right now. The Big Ten and the SEC, we're printing money, baby. We can't let everybody else hold us back. We got to make our own decisions that are good for us and kind of let them do their own thing. You got to agree with them. Notice he did not call the Big 12. Notice he did not call the ACC. He didn't call the MAC or Conference USA and consult with them. He just called the Big Ten. It's all right. How are we going to move forward? Let's keep the dialogue open. It's survival of the fittest. And the Big Ten and the SEC, they are the fittest. And they're going to do what's best for them and their business model moving forward, even if that means some sort of separation from the rest of college football. So I point out the SuperConference, it's already begun. It is here. Now, still a lot of questions. How does this affect other sports? After all, the NCAA is as withering and feckless as it is. Still has its fingerprints all over the NCAA basketball tournament. That's its one thing it's got that's still going. So when we have these conversations, we're largely talking about football. Football drives everything. Football first. Everything else will follow in some sort of orderly fashion. To what extent, we don't know yet. We don't know. But anyway, love to hear your comments on this. And love for you, if you like what you see here and hear here, subscribe. Always asking you to subscribe and get you and me together in the same Big Ten club every single day. We're out here doing this. Loving it, by the way. So subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Audio versions come out at 4 a.m. Eastern time. Video versions on YouTube come out at about 6 o'clock. So just letting you know about that. 6 o'clock every single morning, right in time for your commute to work. And you can enjoy those each and every day. All right, rough weekend for the Big Ten in the NCAA regionals in baseball. Got a little bit of Ohio State facilities news, and we have another network releasing their schedule that is chock full of big Big Ten games. Looking forward to that. And then I saw every Big Ten team announced their homecoming game. Head scratcher on a few of them. I'll explain what I mean by that. It's all coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs. If you run a small business or a small office, if you're the guy in charge, somebody leaves, you got to replace them. So you got to do your own work. Now you got to search for candidates and resumes and conduct interviews and second interview. Oh man, it just take forever. LinkedIn Jobs makes this all a lot easier. They have the tools that help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Now, LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to a perfect role if it were to pop up. Find about it on LinkedIn Jobs. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional at LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day, especially you everydayers that I mentioned earlier on this program. Meanwhile, go ahead and subscribe real quick. Click that button. Doesn't cost you anything, no personal information, and you're good to go. So subscribe and also share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com. You have all of our podcasts right there in order or grouped by your favorite school. Plus, you can buy merchandise like this, pennants, hats, things for your office. talkbig10.com. All right. Ohio State's been making a lot of upgrades with the whole football program from top to bottom, right? That includes name, image, and likeness. They really doubled down on that. Paid a lot of attention to the transfer portal. That roster's looking pretty good. They're going to make a big run this year in not only the Big Ten, but also in the college football playoffs as well. Don't forget facilities. Facilities are very, very important. Now, the Buckeyes get a shiny new locker room makeover for this season. And as you know, for recruits, 17 and 18-year-olds coming from wherever they came to high school into a big fancy locker room at Ohio State, their eyes are wide open, how cool it looks. Got even cooler. State-of-the-art facilities there. Current players love it too, by the way. But I took a video tour of the new Buckeyes locker room this weekend, all decked out in the school colors. Reclinable cushioned seats right there at their locker, headphones, charging stations, everything you can think of. Cool studio lighting. Looks like it's from the future. Best way I could describe it, it looks like a luxury seat on a cross-continent first-class airliner jumbo jet or something like that. That's their locker room now. Pretty cool. Hey, last week I told you about the Big Ten heavy Fox Friday night football schedule. Almost all their games are Big Ten games on Friday nights. Well, now CBS has released their football schedule. It's a 23-game slate on both CBS and Paramount Plus. A lot of Big Ten. Not all Big Ten, but a lot of Big Ten. Of course, they'll have that 3:30 slot as well. But they open it up this year, August 31st. Speaking of Buckeye fans, Buckeyes hosting Akron, August 31st, 3:30 Eastern. That'll be here before you know it. Then later on, UCLA, its first football game as a member of the Big Ten, going out west for them, going to Hawaii. 7:30. That's the makeup game for, if you're betting on games, you got to catch up because maybe you had an off day. I don't know. September 7th, they feature the Iowa State-Iowa game. Great rivalry game at 3:30. And then, of course, they got a doubleheader on September 14th, but it leads off with some Big Ten action. Notre Dame at Purdue at 3:30. The week after that, USC is at Michigan at 3:30 Eastern time. I grew up, it seemed like USC and Michigan were in the Rose Bowl every single year. Now they're playing a regular season conference game at the Big House. Wow. But that'll be on CBS. Then after that, late September and moving on through most of November, they just leave it open. Big Ten matchup. Between the other networks juggling and who has a priority and what the good games are that weekend, they're leaving them all open from that point for most of the season, not all of it. For example, on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, November 29th, Minnesota is at Wisconsin. That's a 12 noon game. That'll be on CBS. And don't forget, as we told you last week, just kind of a recap of all, where are we going to find all these teams, all these networks, everything's all over the place. CBS gets the Big Ten championship game this year. December 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern, CBS. I know you're used to watching it on Fox. While we're looking at schedules, all the homecoming games have been designated now in the Big Ten. They just released that. Now, usually a good team will book a much lesser team for homecoming, right? To make sure that all the alums that are there, they witness a big win. A lot of bench players get to play in front of their families, that whole deal. That's what homecoming is all about. Great tradition. For example, Michigan will be playing Arkansas State at the Big House on September 14th. Also on that same day, Illinois will be hosting Central Michigan. That'll be its homecoming game. However, there's a couple in watch what you wish for category, right? Nebraska's getting picked on. 4 teams have made Nebraska their homecoming. That's in addition to Nebraska's own homecoming. 5 of their games this year are going to be homecoming games. Seems like they're picking on. I don't know if that'd be wise. I think Nebraska's going to bite some people this year. They are the homecoming games. Nebraska at Indiana, at Ohio State, at Purdue, and at Southern Cal. Iowa gets a couple too. They're slated for homecoming at Michigan State and UCLA. And Illinois gets a couple. They are homecoming at Oregon and at Penn State. Now, in the Are You Kidding Me category, Northwestern has scheduled Ohio State for its homecoming. What are they doing? Well, I can actually explain this one without even having to ask anybody. I know exactly what's going on here. A little bit of an asterisk, if you will. Northwestern is without Ryan Field this year. They knocked it down. And they're going to be without it for a couple of years as they build a brand new, shiny home football stadium. All right. It's a complete redo. And the Wildcats will be playing most of their games on campus on the soccer/lacrosse field. They're going to move in 15,000 bleachers, and that's it, right on the shores of Lake Michigan. So they're going to move the Ohio State game. That's going to be at Wrigley Field. They're going to squeeze the football field in there, Wrigley. It's tight on the corners. You've seen it before. Given the popularity of homecoming and the fact that Ohio State will be their biggest and most profitable game ticket-wise, they had to move the game. So this makes a little bit of sense. They're going to make this their homecoming. Other non-traditional homecoming matchups, though, Maryland has scheduled Southern Cal for its homecoming. Rutgers has UCLA coming in. I think Rutgers will win that game. The Huskies host Southern Cal, and the Badgers host Penn State for their homecoming at Camp Randall. Badgers have a tough home schedule. They got Alabama coming in, and now they're making Penn State their homecoming game. Could be tough. Hey, NCAA baseball regionals this weekend. Congratulations. 3 Big Ten teams got in, Illinois and Indiana, Nebraska. Not a great weekend, though. Not a great weekend. Nebraska was in the Stillwater regional out there. Friday, they lost to Florida 5-2. Saturday, big win for them, though, against Niagara 7-5. And of course, Sunday had that long rain delay with the Gators. In the Knoxville regional, Indiana, they beat Southern Miss on Friday 10-4. Had a couple home runs and 9 strikeouts in that game. Then they lost to Tennessee Saturday 12-6. And then Southern Miss got their revenge on them from Friday. Beat them on Sunday to end their season 15-3. And then in the Lexington regional, where Illinois was, Illinois beat Indiana State Friday 4-1. Lost to Kentucky Saturday 6-1. Then got throttled by Indiana State as the Sycamores got their revenge from Friday's loss 13-2. But anyway, congratulations to all 3 Big Ten teams. Fine seasons. Got to the NCAA regional. That's very cool. That's something to talk about for sure. Hey, do you watch daytime sports TV? Talking heads going at each other, getting louder. Whoever's loudest wins the argument. Isn't that how it goes? You got to turn it down sometime. Fox, ESPN, whatever. I'm going to make a suggestion for you that you switch to Locked On Sports Today. It is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming and nonsense. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, you know what we like to do on Mondays? We like our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend. It's all NCAA regional stuff. I'll share that with you here next on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel, get in on the fun. FanDuel, it's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL. FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, of course, America's #1 sports book. Now, we got the NBA Finals coming up, like 8 months between the conference finals and the NBA Finals. I'm just kidding, but it's a long break. Gives you time to analyze this a little bit. Celtics -110, Mavs +175 on the series. What does that mean? -210 for the Celtics, $20 gets you about $9.50. If you put $20 on the Mavs at +175, you win a little under $36. That's how that works. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals starts Saturday. I'll have a breakdown of those odds later in the week, although I'm feeling Panthers on that one as well. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, I am going to put on screen our Big Ten top 10 observations. If you're listening on audio only, I'll describe them as best I can here, but it's all going to be baseball related from the NCAA regionals this past weekend. And now this isn't necessarily 1 through 10 or 10 through 1. I kind of group these by schools and games, if you will. But I want to start it off with Illinois pitcher Jack Crowder, who went 8 innings versus Indiana State this weekend. 106 pitches, 5 strikeouts, no walks, just gave up 3 hits, was pretty good in that one. At number 9, staying with Illinois, Colton Quagliano. Did you see his foul territory catch coming over from third base out of right there in the front row where the screen and the wall and everything met? Nice catch there. A little web gem, if you will, against Indiana State there in Lexington. At number 8 on our list, as we climb backwards 10 through 1, at number 8, Nebraska's Gabe Swanson. He's the left fielder, went 2 for 3, had a home run, a couple RBIs at Stillwater, and the loss to Florida on Friday. Got their only 2 runs that way. And at number 7, we have IU's Morgan Colopy, the left fielder. He's their 9th hitter in the lineup. But what would they have done without him against Southern Miss on Friday? Went 2 for 5, home run, and 3 RBIs versus Southern Miss. Congratulations to him on that effort. At number 6, IU's Brock Tibbetts. Brock Tibbetts, their first baseman. He went 3 for 5 in that game against Southern Miss. 4 RBIs, had a home run. Ball was flying out there on Friday. And then we've got Ty Bothwell from IU, their pitcher. 9 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings against Southern Miss Friday in Knoxville. Great pitching effort by him. And number 4, our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend. Shout out to Nebraska's Josh Overbeek, their third baseman. Leadoff triple versus Niagara. Or he's their leadoff hitter, I should say. And Nebraska's Case Sanderson. He comes at number 3. They're the right fielder, 3-run home run. That was the Niagara game that they won. They were down 4-0, and his 3-run home run got them back into the game, a game at which they won. Key turning point, pivotal point in the game for the Huskers there. Thank you to Case Sanderson. At number 2, Nebraska's Mason McConaughey. He's a pitcher. Gave him 6 strong innings versus Niagara. 10 strikeouts in that game. 10 Ks over 6 innings. Total control. And then at number 1, another shout out to Gabe Swanson from Nebraska. I had a 2-home run game versus Niagara Saturday in Stillwater. He made this list twice. He had a phenomenal weekend. So there you have it. Our Big Ten top 10 observations from the weekend. See what you think about that. We'll look for you in the comments on our various places I'll tell you about right now. Many ways for you to interact with me. First of all, our website, talkbig1010.com. Check it out. All of our podcasts are there. You can leave me an email there. You can buy some swag there. All right there. Talk Big 10, number 10, our website. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. You see it here on the bottom of the screen. If you're on video, at X, at Talk Big 10, number 10, and then the comments on YouTube. I invite you to just go back and forth, or it's entertaining. After you watch a podcast, go back and look at some of the comments. Even if you don't feel like leaving one, they're always interesting and entertaining. But obviously, invite you to watch another episode of Lockdown Big 10. Get yourself caught up a little bit. They're all there on our website, talkbig10.com. Before you go, and before you watch another episode, subscribe. Just click the button. It's free, and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. And after you're done watching a few episodes of Locked On Big Ten and telling all your friends and family about us, especially if they're Big Ten alums, spread the word, please. You can check out our friends at Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus some of our national shows covering every league. We're on there from time to time. They throw us up on there as well. That'll do it. This is an interesting time of year. We're off to a big start this week. Love to hear your comments on it. Can't wait to get together again tomorrow. But thanks for checking us out today. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten. See you next time.